Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of Fangirls Only. This week our special guest is Amanda Raye. So,
Hello.
hi.
Hey, I'm Amanda.
I'm
Hi,
Vanessa.
I'm May.
I'm Vanessa.
Well, nice to meet you guys. What a cool concept to be able to do interviews with your friends.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
a lot of
fun.
fun. Yep. Before we start, do you want to tell us a little about yourself?
Yeah, so like I said, my name's Amanda. I live in Southern California. I live a pretty normal life, I guess. I did pageants. I was great in high school. I loved it. I was on the cheer team. I guess the really only difference between me and another Southern California girl is I speak to the dead. So it's something that I've always kind of had the ability to do. Before I was able to verbalize what I was seeing, I would draw them. So that's kind of a little bit about what I do. I'm on TikTok, I'm on YouTube, and I just recently started opening up and talking about my experiences with dealing with the deceased. And that's why I'm on the interview right now.
Very cool.
Yeah, so let's get started with the questions now. So the first question is, what's the haunted place that you really want to go to, like on your bucket list?
Have you guys heard of the Cecil Hotel? Okay, I am dying to get into this Cecil Hotel. They just did a Netflix documentary on it. It's nicknamed Hotel Death, like LA's Hotel Death. So it's one of the most haunted hotels in Los Angeles. It just has so many deaths and mysterious circumstances surrounding it. Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, he was a really prolific serial killer. He actually lived at the Cecil Hotel and kind of did his thing out of it. So there's reports of people who, when they were staying there, they would see Richard Ramirez undressing in the alley on the side of the Cecil Hotel. They assumed that he was getting out of some dirty work clothes. You know, they were all like stained and dark, and he would dump them in the dumpster and then ride the elevator of the Cecil Hotel up to his room on the 14th floor. And people think that he was probably disposing of clothes that he wore while he was doing these crimes or while he was committing these crimes. So the Cecil Hotel is top of my bucket list. It's been closed down since 2017, but I'm hoping to get in.
Wow.
I bet like if you do go, you'll be able to see him for sure.
Yeah, a lot of people are wondering, is it something about the hotel specifically that kind of makes these things happen? Like, is it a portal, or is it just a normal hotel that happens to have all of these crazy, horrible stories surrounding it?
Yeah. Okay. One question is, how can you tell if something negative is around you?
So it's kind of the same way that I'm able to tell the difference between someone who's living and someone who is a spirit. Your guys' energy feels completely different to me than a negative or than a actual spirit. So a negative spirit is going to feel completely different than a positive spirit. When a negative thing comes through, sometimes I'll have physical reactions, like my heart will start beating really fast. I'll start feeling really hot. I'll get really flushed. I'll break out in hives.
Wow.
And like, in addition to all the physical things that you guys would be able to see happening to me, I personally am able to like tell the difference by the way their energy feels. Like, you know how when you're alone at night and you just get those like feelings where you feel like something's watching you, you get goosebumps and the hair on the back of your neck stands up. Kind of similar to that. Like, you just know something's not right.
Right.
Okay. What has been the scariest thing you've ever seen?
Oh lordy. Do you guys want a list? No, I'm just kidding. I guess it like really depends. Like, I just went to the Conjuring House.
Oh.
And the spirit that came through in the beginning while we were upstairs was definitely a demonic spirit, but it presented itself as a little boy. So I don't know if you guys saw this Sam and Colby video at the Conjuring House. But that image that I took on the thermal camera of the little boy, that was a demonic spirit. So sometimes they're able to present themselves as things that you might be comfortable with, like a child or an animal or even a loved one that you've lost. And those ones just look like kids. Like, they don't look bad, but they feel horrible. So things like that can sometimes, they can portray themselves in ways that aren't as scary, but they will definitely bank on showing themselves in terrifying ways because they feed on fear and negative energy. So I grew up in a house where I had so many experiences. I mean, that's kind of how we figured out that I was able to see things, was growing up in a house where it was haunted by one of these things. And that spirit, I literally can feel myself getting red thinking about it. He presented himself mostly as a shadow, but every once in a while he would take a different form to like really try and scare me. So I don't really enjoy talking about what they look like, but they can present themselves in different ways. And just like if have you guys seen Harry Potter?
I haven't.
I've never even like thought of it this way. So in one of the movies in Harry Potter, well, this is a bad example because neither of you guys have seen it, but the negative entity, like, it's not necessarily a demon, but this creature presents itself as the thing that you fear most. So sometimes they'll do things like that where they will take on the like terrifying forms or things just to scare you. But so sometimes like I deal with good, the bad comes along with it.
Okay, next question. Where's the most haunted place you've ever been to?
The Conjuring House, for sure. I've obviously heard the stories, I've seen the movies, so I had some idea of what to expect going into it, but they're movies, you know? You don't really know what to expect until you're across the country standing in the house where these events took place. So the Conjuring House was definitely intense. I remember when we walked in the beginning, I was kind of laughing to myself thinking, this isn't so bad. Like, I had myself all worked up knowing everything I did about the house already and seeing the movies. And then when I walked in, I kind of compared it to the house that I grew up in, where it was definitely not a positive place, but it wasn't somewhere where I could imagine these types of events occurring.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you know the story of the Conjuring House, but the Warrens were some paranormal investigators who went to help the Perron family who lived in this home in Rhode Island. And the Perron family was having all of these crazy hauntings during the Warrens' seance, where they were trying to get rid of this spirit. This entity, this demon, picked up Caroline, Mrs. Perron, the mother, and threw her across the living room, across the baking room, into like the room across the way. So it threw her a good 15 or 20 feet into the wall, and she hit the wall so hard they thought that she was dead.
Wow.
So for me to like know these things going in, and then have it not be as bad as I thought it was going to be, was kind of a breath of fresh air, a little bit of a relief. And as the night went on and we started communicating with these things, like the little boy upstairs did come through, more negative things started to present themselves. And we were pretty much alone in the house all night. So we had plenty of time for things to keep coming through that weren't necessarily positive. But the Conjuring House was super insane. And then the house that I grew up in was a super similar experience for me because I was so young. So those are like my top two off the bat that come into my head.
Very cool.
So if you know, how can you tell if a house is haunted?
Just like people, they feel different. So I didn't necessarily believe in the idea of like physical places being haunted, but as I'm like, oh, my cat's about to walk into the frame. Bobby, excuse me. Sorry, I like totally lost my train of thought. He distracted me. What was the question? Okay. Oh, places are haunted. My bad. Sir, stop. Places aren't necessary. He's like really trying to get in on the interview. Sir, I didn't think he would be bad. Places aren't necessarily always haunted. And I didn't believe that they could be until I came across places like the Conjuring House or my old house. When I moved out, we moved out because the hauntings got so bad. After we left, the spirits stayed in the home.
Right.
So I don't know why sometimes spirits are attached to physical places or physical things or people, but the way that I'm able to tell if they are is the energy in that place.
Wow. Okay. If you weren't doing what you're doing now, what do you think you would be doing?
I definitely would still be in college.
Yes.
Don't drop out. It worked out for me. But I had always wanted to be a facial reconstruction surgeon or a trauma surgeon. I was really lucky from a young age. I knew exactly what I wanted to do with my life. And not a lot of people do, so I was pretty stoked. I was going to go to medical school, become a doctor, and go across seas into foreign countries and help fix cleft palates. Like, I wanted to do work like that. And going into my freshman year of high school, I ended up getting shingles. Which I don't know if you know what that is, but it caused nerve damage in my spinal cord. So I have nerve damage in my back, and I didn't end up going to college or going away for that. And I was really upset and kind of bitter for a while. And I remember I was complaining to my mom one day, like, it's just unfair. Like, you know how you do, like, it's embarrassing to even say, but we all do it. Like, life's just so unfair. And I'm going off complaining that I didn't get to go to medical school and be a doctor like I had planned to heal people. And my mom stops me and she goes, Amanda, anyone can go to medical school. And if they practice hard enough, they can learn how to fix people. You can heal people in a way that no matter how hard people practice or how much work they put in or how much they study, like, I can heal people in a way that other people can't. And I really do try and focus on that blessing, like that I get to help people in a way that, even though it's not what I wanted, going across and dealing with scalpels and cutting, I get to bring people peace. So I still get to find that joy in helping others, but in a completely different and unexpected way. So I definitely would still be in school if I didn't speak to dead people.
Yes.
What's the first experience you've had with a spirit or another entity?
So like I said, it all kind of started when I was very, very young. Before I was able to speak, I would draw them. So anytime I could get my hand on like a piece of paper, or if we got letter in the mail, like anything, I would grab my little piece of my little pencil and I would start drawing circles. And my mom thought maybe I was autistic because I had these repetitive patterns of drawing, and I wasn't speaking. And I was around 3. So she's like, she should definitely be talking by now. One of my grandmas happens to be a child psychologist or psychiatrist. And my mom took me to her and was like, what is happening with my child? Yeah. And she was asking me all these questions. I wasn't speaking. My mom's like, get this, like, watch what she does. And she gives me a piece of paper and I start going to town, doing my thing, drawing the circles. And they're like, what are you doing? So my grandma's pointing to the circles and she's like, what are you drawing? And I don't answer her. And then she notices in every circle, I do 2 dots, like little eyes. And she goes, oh my God, Amanda's drawing faces. Like, I'm drawing people. That's not weird. So she points to the eyes, the little dots in them, and she goes, what are these? And I look at her and I go, eyes. And she goes, what are you drawing? And I go, demons. And that's when my mom was like, I know my 3-year-old did not just say that. Like, So we left, and that was like kind of end of story. Like, case closed. We didn't really talk about it again. And then I just started speaking in full sentences. Little weird. And my mom, obviously from like that age until around 6, was dealing with me. I wasn't able to sleep. I would describe these things that I was seeing. I was terrified every single day. I couldn't go to school without this thing following me. I couldn't do anything. And finally, my mom was just kind of at her wit's end. And it was either I was making this up for attention, I was crazy, or I really was seeing dead people. So obviously she was hoping I was making it up for attention. But I wasn't sleeping at night. I was having panic attacks. My mom was exhausted because I would be in her room all the time. Yeah. And at one point, there's no guidebook for what to do when your child is saying they're seeing these things. So what is she based off of? The Exorcist. Wow. And she's like, I'm going to call a priest. Like, if my daughter's seeing these demonic things, obviously the next step is to call a priest to get rid of them, right? So my mom's a researcher. And when I'm about 6, I walk up to her footstool. She's sitting in a chair on her laptop, typing away. And I look at her and she looks up from her laptop and I go, Mom, he says, don't. And she's looking at me and she goes, don't what, Amanda? And I said, he says, don't call a priest. And she was on her laptop for the first time ever, searching up priests to come and exorcise our home or do a home blessing, whatever you want to call it. And that was the moment my mom, without a doubt, knew that somebody was standing behind her, reading off her computer screen, telling me what she was seeing.
Wow.
So that's when my mom was like, we got to get a priest in here.
My face is so red.
I know, you're like grasping. It's insane. Like, it really is. My dad, I just went to Catalina this weekend. My dad picked me up from the train station. And he was like, you know what? You have some pretty crazy stories. Like, just right off the bat. I told him I was doing a little interview today. And I was like, yeah, some of them are like really whack. When I stop and I sit down and I think about it, like, that's insane. I couldn't imagine like what I would, well, I guess it's a little easier because I do see them. But if I had no experience, my 6-year-old daughter coming up and that happening to me, is it too late to drop her off at a fire station? Can I adopt her out? Like,
okay, last question. If you were in a scary movie, which one would it be and why?
I live in my own scary movie. What kind of, you know, I see, part of me wants to pick like one of like Friday the 13th or gory movies, but then I know that I'd be the dumb blonde in them and I'd die first. So I feel like I can't pick a horror movie. I don't know. They're all bad. The Sixth Sense. Have you guys seen that movie?
No.
All right. If you guys hop off this interview, you gotta watch The Sixth Sense. It's probably one of the most realistic movies of what it's like seeing what I do. I remember watching it and I thought, I told my mom actually, whoever wrote this movie either sees things like I do or knows somebody who does who was working with them. Because that movie is so scary accurate to how it really is for like me and my gifts, how I perceive them. So The Sixth Sense, because I live it every day, I feel like I'd be the most comfortable in it. Vanessa, are you like seeing stuff? You're like looking around your house.
I think my house is haunted. I'll tell you some stories after this, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah. And then super random, did either of you have a grandma that you've lost?
I don't know. No.
No, there's a woman in my house with me right now. She is super, super short, white hair. And so I just thought I'd ask. She's somebody's grandma, but
my grandma.
All right. That's all I got. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. That was crazy.
Yeah, no problem. Is this your guys' like first interview kind of thing?
No.
When did you guys start?
Like
a few months ago.
Yeah.
Do you love it?
Yeah, it's fun.
It's definitely way harder to be the interviewer than the interviewee.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no problem, you guys. It was super nice meeting you.
You too.
You too. Bye.
And so, yeah, bye.
Bye. Fangirls out.